Welcome, everybody. It's great to have everybody here. I'm Brian Reckworth, and I'm here with my co-founders. What's happening? Are you guys ready for this? A little public all hands, number 3, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Hey, guys. I always get really excited when I see where everyone is joining us from, because we're so international as a region, and that makes me super excited. And I also have to admit that I whispered to myself, "Showtime," just before we started.
You were in some acting, I think, as a kid. I didn't have that, that exposure, but
yeah. Well, I wanted to be an actress, Brian, but actually, I ended up going to the world of tech. And so, for all of those who don't know me here, it's really nice to meet you. I'm Gina. I'm a co-founder at Latitud, and I'm originally from Brazil, born and raised. And I really wanted to go into acting, but instead ended up having a career in tech. And helped Tumblr grow, and then Duolingo led growth from 3 to 200 million users, worked on a presidential campaign here in the US on growth, and basically just helped, outside of the presidential candidates, a lot of tech startups in Silicon Valley grow, in Silicon Valley and also beyond, and in many cases in Latin America. And in this whole time, just meeting incredible entrepreneurs from Brazil and other parts of Latin America who were building incredible solutions to solve problems for hundreds of millions of people, and who just didn't have all of the access that I had to the people here, to resources, to tools, and just thought, what could I do to help bring back a lot of this knowledge and to help empower people who can build solutions for people who need a lot more solutions than people who are here in the US. So that's why I'm super excited to be building Latitud with you guys in here today. How about you, Yuri? What brings you here today?
Hey, everyone. I'm Yuri, co-founder and CTO at Latitud. So yeah, a few years back, I was actually an early stage founder in Brazil. And with my 2 other co-founders, we all had technical background. We literally wished every single day that something like Latitud existed. So even though I went on and became an executive at a scale up between Series B and Series C, I was always motivated to go back and solve some of the pains that we faced as founders. So that's how I connected with Brian and Gene, and to be on this amazing journey to help founders in LatAm.
It is a journey, isn't it? We're having fun so far. I don't think there's anyone having as much fun as we are, building companies. I'm Brian Reckworth. I was the co-founder of a prop tech company in Brazil before it was actually called a prop tech company, to kind of date my the time in LatAm. And it was a super lonely journey, very difficult, really struggled a lot. Didn't have a lot of access to resources. And, I did find a small little community after time, and that really reshaped and changed my trajectory. And so after selling my company in 2020, thought, how can we elevate the next generation of founders? And so 3 like-minded people got together in the 3 of us, and Latitud was born. And so, one thing that's really interesting is, at the beginning, we're like, I wonder who else really is passionate about the region or cares about the future of Latin America and thinks tech is an amazing lever for economic progress and social mobility. Well, guess what? It turns out a lot of people, probably many of you on this call, are motivated by that mission. And so, we're not alone. In fact, let's hear from some of the supporters and people that actually believe in what we're doing.
Hey. How's it going?
Unless you have your head in the sand, you would have heard about Latitud years ago.
Super exciting time to be a founder in Latin America.
Major talent with big ideas and a huge market.
Just this entrepreneurial fire. LatAm's tipped.
We're finally sort of occupying the right space globally for a region that has almost 800 million people.
Connections, mentorship, just people to talk to about your idea, that somebody that can pinpoint you to who you should talk to, makes a complete difference in what you do and what you can achieve.
You want me to be on the Peloton? I'll be on the Peloton.
I would rather you be on the Peloton personally.
It was a boost of energy, definitely.
Latitud Community, it's truly the best community in LatAm right now.
One of the objectives here is just to make it a little less lonely, right?
Latitud was a real game changer for me.
I'm very optimistic when I look at the new generation of entrepreneurs in the region.
We'll see even bigger companies that solve even harder problems.
A rising tide, it's a big tide. Giving back is at the heart of what we do. I want to take a minute or two to thank all of you Let's continue to pay it forward and help the next generation as we build this unified startup nation.
That's kind of
Boom, that's it.
that we
Mike.
no, there's going to be no raps by me today, but there will be some reflection about 2022, a little bit of plans for 2023 and how we, seek out to elevate the ecosystem with your help, of course, everyone on this call. So let's dive right into this presentation here. So why did we build Latitud? I think that we already identified, and it was very clear in kind of this kickoff here, it's really hard, right? Building a company anywhere in the world is super difficult, let alone building something in Latin America. And as I already stated, it's such an incredible potential lever for economic progress and social mobility. And we're at a tipping point where the technology landscape and really the opportunities to build things at incredible scale by leveraging software is, it's a real turning point and a tipping point for the region. And so at Latitud, our mission is to accelerate a founder's path and really help them to get to product market fit faster, because that's where tons of value is unlocked in the region. So we have these three core pillars at Latitud. And, we started with this community. It's really the heart and soul of what we do. About 1,300 founders, angel investors have joined from all over the region. The first kind of unifying community where we brought together people from all across Latin America to really support each other and elevate this next generation. And one thing that was very clear, and this is in retrospect, I like to call it retrospective rationalization, because when we set out to do this, we didn't have the clear impact that it would generate. But one thing that we realized was, as we built this community, we could then listen to the community. The community would communicate some of their problems, challenges, identify opportunities. And then all of a sudden, these products were born, these solutions that we could build. So we're going to talk briefly about some of our plans, what we launched last year, some of the plans for later this year. But we really want to build this incredibly powerful infrastructure that people in the Silicon Valley take for granted. And in Latin America, we want to unlock that power by making it easier and reducing friction for founders in Latin America. And then lastly, the capital component is another important piece. The reality is the founders in our region, or that have come out of Latitud, have raised north of $800 million since joining Latitud. And, part of that has come from great investors. There's more sophisticated investors in the region now. We have an angel program also. We're trying to connect that capital and that knowledge with those founders. Yes, thank you for the clarification. 800 million in debt and equity. A good portion of that in equity. So it's pretty exciting to see the caliber of entrepreneurs that have come into the region. And it's exciting, and we hope that continues to grow because it's a sign of things to come.
And as Brian said, it's lonely building a startup, and it's amazing to have a community of people who genuinely want to be there and to help each other out. So these are just screenshots of people posting on their newsfeed that they joined Latitud, and we're really excited because it feels like we're doing something right when people are posting about joining something on their social media. So that's, in addition to raising capital and getting all the help you need, it's just an amazing community to be a part of.
Sorry, not sorry for dominating your LinkedIn feed.
And you too can join the community if you're interested. We have a number of ways in which you can do that. The two main ones are, if you're a founder, if you want to start a tech startup in Latin America, or if you have started a tech startup in Latin America and are still in the early days, and that really depends. It might be your early years as well. Or if you're interested in jumping on this train and taking advantage of amazing opportunities to make angel investments in really, really early stage tech startups built by brilliant minds who have worked at top tech startups in Silicon Valley and in Latin America and beyond, then join us. Here are the 2 QR codes that you can use, and the team will share that in the chat as well. Yeah. Next slide.
All right. So yes, Brian was pointing out the community and the capital are an amazing foundation, but we realized we needed to build more infrastructure to enable the next generation of successful startups in the region. So our vision is really building an operating system for venture-backed startups in LatAm. If you're starting in the US, you can easily, get your company going with Stripe Atlas for company formation, Mercury for business banking, and Cardiff for cap table. That's just not the case in LatAm. So, our investor, Angela, that you saw earlier in the video from Andreessen Horowitz, she said her first deal in LatAm, she realized she had to wait 3-4 months for the company to be formed so she just can transfer the money. She was shocked. And so that's why we built Latitud GO, which solves this problem. And I'd like to invite Jan, who leads that product, to tell us how it's been going. Hop in, Jan.
Thanks, Yuri. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Jan. I'm a founding team member here at Latitud, and I've been leading Latitud GO from the very beginning. For those who are not familiar with the product, Go is a one-stop shop for founders that are essentially raising venture capital in the region. And the thing is, right, raising money is already freaking hard, but it's even a harder pill to swallow when you finally get that yes. And as Yuri said, you have to wait like 3-4 months to actually get access to the capital, right? So it's a really, really brutal experience, and it's going to cost you a ton of money, a ton of time, kind of go and bridge that gap. And it's also something that is also very, very messed up about it is that most of you don't have a legal background. So you don't even know if you're doing the right thing or not. So, and there's a lot of bad advice that goes into the market nowadays, and even among lawyers. So it's really, really hard to kind of find a good player that you can actually trust. And on top of that, the process is just extremely messy. Brian was talking about how we listen to the community, and we've heard from 1,300 people that the process is absolutely brutal. And we've experienced that ourselves as well. So hundreds of WhatsApp messages and emails being exchanged, a lot of anxiety, uncertainty around timelines, around the process. And there's just a lot of frustration that comes around with the usual process, or the way that this is usually done. So we built Latitud GO with those two core problems in mind. So first and foremost, we want to kind of assure and we built this really, really solid foundation that we could give founders the security that they were actually kind of signing up for the right thing, and that there is this pillar of trust that is just unshakable for us. And then secondly, we want to make the experience just like 100x better over everyone else in the market. Literally, we just wanted you to kind of set it and forget it. So I really wish that I came up with that quote because it's extremely smart, but it was actually one of our customers who did. So I think that tells you a little bit about the product. To just like quickly dive into our offering, of course, first and foremost, to help you structure your offshore entities. That's a requirement if you're raising from any big venture fund in the region or international investor or angel investor. And we co-built like a really, really airtight process with this really, really top-notch law firms. And once the structures are set up, we go and help you open your bank accounts and kind of help you wire the money down to Brazil so you can start actually putting it to use. And one thing that is really unique about Go is that we have a really, really special partnership with SVB, and that kind of gave us an exclusive channel there where everything runs in an expedited way, and the quality of support is extremely high, which is also very, very hard to come by in the market. And finally, we help you save a lot of money. We'll have over $250,000 in deals with tools and services that are just essential for running your business. And we have amazing, amazing partners such as Jeeves, such as B-Hub, such as Sparta, and the list just like keeps on going on. And well, lastly, or least but not last, we also kind of get access to all of this that we've been talking about here at Latitud. So when you join Latitud GO as a customer, you kind of tap into the Latitud ecosystem. So we haven't talked about events yet, but all Latitud GO customers have access to our events. They usually have special rates, or they always have special rates to join our events. We're happy to make any introductions to anybody in the community, happy to make introductions to funds that we know of. So when you tap into Latitud GO, you kind of tap into the Latitud ecosystem. I could keep going, talk about like for an hour how awesome our product is, but I think better show than tell. So I'd love to kind of just go over a quick demo that we've been working on for the past few days. So kind of just walking you through how the customer journey looks like, or the process looks like. So everything started with you providing more information about your startup, about the founding team. As you can see, you're gonna be able to do everything online through our platform. You're gonna be able to customize the ownership, vesting dates, and also create buy any additional add-ons that we have, just like creating a stock option plan right off the platform. You're going to be able to check out as well, just like swipe your credit card, extremely simple. And you also kind of have there the payment schedule for future installments. So you have like crystal clear transparency over the fees and the deadlines. After that, we kind of go and collect more information about your team, such as personal documents. But don't worry, we send this form individually to each one of your co-founders, so you don't go and have to chase them for your passports. You can count on us for doing that. And once those are out of the way, our team will go in and submit all the data that you and the team submitted to us. And then, and if everything checks out, just get your availability for a 5-minute KYC call. And we know that founders who are going through this process care about one thing, which is getting money in the bank fast. When it comes to kind of making registrations and filings, there's like no wiggle room for creativity or taking shortcuts. Like you just don't want to cross that line. So we expedited the process the only way we could, which was reducing human involvement as much as possible. So already mentioned Gunderson, Pionato, we worked very closely with them, with founders, with investors to create a set of documents with industry standard terms that are automatically generated based on like literally over 150 variables. So this means there are no clauses to be negotiated, no humans to manually input data into documents, extremely error prone, extremely time consuming, and no time coordinating with service providers. And you might be wondering why I kind of went on the side rant instead of talking about what's happening on screen. And it's because even before I was done with it, you could see that our customer had already got an email to sign all the paperwork required to form their Cayman company. It just like doesn't get any faster than that. That's the power of software. And finally here, just kind of quickly showing you that you always have always up to date on where you are in the process. You kind of have this map that you can kind of follow your incorporation along in real time. And so you're never lost in the process. You always know what's next, and have a lot of educational materials kind of explaining about the process. Whenever you have to sign documents, you have this blog with explaining the process. And lastly, I think the last thing that just kind of quickly wanted to cover is that you actually have a built-in data room there, which is awesome. So instead of like literally going and scouring your like hundreds of email threads and whatnot, finding your like, I don't know, your corporate documents, you have like a neatly organized data room that you can just like share with investors for the due diligence process, which is helps to save a ton of time. So I think that's it on the demo side. And I just wanted to close it out by saying that right now we're really, really laser focused in Brazil. We're expanding to Mexico, to Colombia very, very soon. And I just wanted to invite anyone who's planning on fundraising in Brazil or things that are in the venture capital track, you know someone who it is, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You have the QR code on the screen. Literally write us, go@latitud.com. The team will get to you, even if it is just to kind of get to know more about your company and kind of give you a little bit of advice and how to proceed. Don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help. Thanks, everyone. Gina, back to you, I think.
Actually,
Not me, but even better.
Jump in with Yuri. Yuri, we're trying to expand the product engineering team, aren't we?
Yeah, we're building some other exciting products to remove even more friction for founders in LatAm. And we have some roles open. I wanted to highlight two specifically, but you can go hop on the link. The two specific ones I want to highlight is the senior front-end engineer and product ops specialist. So, and these folks, hopefully the experience we're looking for is like from regulated backgrounds. So if you know anyone or if you yourself are excited about building this, please reach out.
So Gina, I think now you're up, and I think listen, we're here talking about a lot of our progress, all these great things. But one of the things that we try to do is reflect a little bit more on maybe what didn't go as well as planned. So we're going to talk briefly about some of the things that went well last year, and then some things that we, reflect on, kind of moving forward. You want to take us through that, Gina, and kind of, share a little bit more about how we see things?
For sure. And I think if I remember correctly, I assigned the slide to me and then the slide about all the things that went bad to you. So you get to talk about that.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So what we are proud of, we are really proud of the community that we've created and that continues to perpetuate itself. We've handpicked over 1,200 founders. They're amazing, and we can see the progress and we can see the community in action every day. Super proud to have launched Latitud GO, which Jan just went over, in Brazil. Excited to launch it in other countries moving forward. And just in case it wasn't super clear from the products part, if you're interested in a job at Latitud, we are building other products too. We're also super excited about having raised our seed round. It was a $13 million seed round, which supposedly is very big for Latin America, even though size does not matter. And it was led by Andreessen Horowitz and NFX. Honestly, I'm really excited because I'm a super fan of Andreessen Horowitz. We ran our first big event in Brazil last year. 1,300 awesome people showed up from all over Latin America and beyond. We had venture funds from the US. We had people flying from Europe. It was awesome. We've invested in over 100 LatAm startups altogether. And we launched a new tech report to start democratizing access to what's going on in tech in Latin America so that more people can participate, have the best, most reliable information, and potentially, build startups as well. We were also very surprised to see that it had over 5,700 downloads. We actually had a lower KPI, so we will continue doing that in years to come, and we're super excited.
So
Brian, do you want to talk about lessons learned?
Oh, you just threw this one at me. All right, fine. No, it's great. One of the things as someone who's, founded a handful of companies, you get thrust back into those early days, right? And, I think it's no secret that, the market is the tide has shifted a little bit in, overall in tech. And, we put this little teddy bear icon. We didn't write bear market, even though obviously things have changed, right? The financial scenario is different. Venture capital has kind of slowed down a little bit. Valuations have, kind of been tamed and come down. And then, that's something, yes.
I was going to say, in terms, we have a virtue or value at Latitud, which is thinking long-term. And that's particularly tough when you're trying to think really long-term, but also trying to be really responsible in the short term. And we know that a lot of startups are feeling that. So we felt it firsthand at Latitud as well.
And I think that's a good segue into we feel really lucky. We're building this community. We're trying to elevate the next generation of entrepreneurs. We're trying to solve major friction points for founders. And, it brings us right back to those early days of being a pre-product market fit company, which makes us much more empathetic of the founders in our community because we're building product also. We're trying to get distribution for our product. We're trying to solve those problems of our users and build things that, that people value. And so that's it's a humbling experience to go back and be in the throes of trying to make things work. And so that makes us, I think, a good partner for other founders in Latin America because we're also kind of living that experience. Would you say?
For sure. Running at the speed of light and telling each other every day that we're not going fast enough and really feeling like we're not going fast enough where it matters. And so that's super tough. And it's particularly tough when we're all remote at Latitud. So we built an amazing team, but we're all over Latin America. And so we all really care about culture and fostering an amazing culture, but doing that in a remote way is particularly challenging. We've learned a lot of lessons and we're super excited to share all of the tricks and hacks that we've learned to develop relationships within our company, what worked, what didn't work. So ask us anything and we'll be sharing, honestly, all of the documents that we prepared internally as well, because we love building in public and helping others as well. Brian,
building in public, it has its pros and cons, doesn't it? When we're out there and we kind of proclaim, hey, we're going to do this, and then we change. And I'll talk a little bit about in the next slide a bit about kind of our event strategy. Had a little we had talked about launching our Vamos LatAm Summit in Mexico City. I'll give an update and a little bit about some of those plans. The biggest risk of building in public is looking stupid, right? But we have strong conviction that the pros outweigh the cons. because it's been an incredible way that we've been able to recruit extremely good talent. You know, I think a lot of the talent that's joined Latitude saw one of our first or second all hands, and they got excited about it because we exposed our culture and, you know, our thought process. So, you know, we found LPs that have joined our fund, you know, customers. So I think at the end of the day, we still feel very confident that this is the right path for us. And it's also very authentic. And when you're building an ecosystem, it's great for you to share your lessons out to the world, because it accelerates those lessons for other people.
For sure, but it's also tough on the team. Wait, we're not done with the mistakes. I think we need to talk about all of them.
We should maybe make this maybe a next all hands all about mistakes.
All about our mistakes. There's so many. So I'll talk about diversity. Diversity is a super tough topic. It's also a part of our values and virtues, and we talk about it all the time at Latitude. We care about it a lot. We are a pretty diverse company, at least in terms of gender. We have a lot of other diverse points as well, but I would not dare to say we are completely perfectly diverse. But we're constantly trying to incorporate diversity into everything we do, be it a fellowship, be it our mentors, or, you know, our portfolio companies, our people who participate in the reports, panels, everything. And every so often we go and make a really rookie mistake. So for example, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a panel and we had comments on our social media being like, okay, like, why are there no women on this panel? You know, and I, as a co-founder, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I let that happen? Like, how did I let that happen? Like, this is so basic. And then of course we have, you know, all of the other aspects of diversity too. And so just empathetically saying that it's something that we continuously have to hold each other accountable to. We're really happy that our community feels confident doing that on social media and wherever else, but we have to hold each other accountable because it's so hard to exercise on a regular basis to the degree that we can actually make a difference long term, and it's so important. Otherwise, change is not going to be made.
Yeah, I think the key thing is being able to take the feedback, right, and not having, if you can't acknowledge when you make mistakes, then you're not going to grow. And so I think that's something we'll continue to do as an organization. And going back to that first statement I made in this kind of reflections and learnings in 2022, the tide has changed a little bit in the current kind of economic scenario. And, in some ways, we were very lucky with our kind of, we raised capital at the right time, and we're pretty well capitalized, but we did need to kind of balance the scale with productivity. And so, there's a great kind of concept that I like from one of my friends from Kazakh, who was an early investor in my last company, Hernan, one of the founders of Mercado Libre. And he used to talk about the stop and go strategy, where you go in, you heavy hire initially, you kind of expand the team, and then you take a break, a breather, you focus on productivity. And these are really important key elements. A lot of founders over the last 2 years, they just went up and to the right the entire time. They didn't even stop to take a breath. And, eventually you get to a point where you're just not running an efficient organization. And so balancing that, scale with productivity is super important.
And balancing scale and thoughtfulness too, because, we're serving now over thousands of founders in Latin America. And that is a large number of founders. And we need to continuously doing that in a really careful, thoughtful way, so that we are listening to everyone, being able to help make sure that everyone is getting the help that they need at some way, that the community maintains the elements that make it a community while also scaling it. So those are challenges that we're continuously working through at Latitude. Next slide.
I'll take this one. So what can you expect from us this year? We're going to continue to expand Latitud GO, as Jan stated. We think that product is really important for founders to get set up the right way and be venture ready. We're going to do more in real life. Latitude was born in, like kind of the California summer, or the US summer of 2020. And, it was remote by default because that's the only option that we had. And it turned out that we do like in real life, engagement and seeing each other. And so we're kind of bringing this offline community to the real world. And, we definitely, Gina's making jokes here, so it's hard for me. I can't keep up.
Sorry, the summer of 2020. Keep going.
But the reality is that, we really find that these connections happen in the real world. So, we, and again, reflecting on the last slide, I had put out a post that we want to do this big event. We did the Vamos LatAm Summit in 2022 in Sao Paulo. It was an incredible success. We had 1,300 founders from all over the region. And I hope we wanted to do that again in Mexico. What we realized is that the timeline was too short and we didn't have like the on the ground team. And so we decided to push that back to 2024. So we still plan on launching our Vamos LatAm Summit, but the following year. And in exchange for that, we decided to do a smaller gathering, which will be really targeted at our community of founders, people that are in our fellowship, investors, mentors, and people part of our community. So if you're not part of our community yet, we'd love to have you join our community in some capacity. And we'll be hosting that event in the late March. And then, kind of moving on here, we also have some very, very exciting stuff kind of, in el horno, como dicen en español, right? We've got, in the oven, a handful of products that we're building, a very exciting fintech product that we will hopefully be announcing with a soft launch relatively soon, and, reducing friction for founders so they can, kind of focus on their business. So no spoilers yet, but we will be sharing that shortly. And then, continue to scale our community of founders and angels. That's really the engine, the heart of what we do. And so that's something that, count on that to continue to happen. And then lastly, the investment process as a founder is something that is quite opaque. It lacks transparency oftentimes. And so, we have a fund and we're also a facilitator of capital through our angel fellowship and our just general network. So we hope to make some really important strides on, increasing the clarity of our investment process and making capital more accessible to those founders at the earliest stages of their business. So I'd mentioned this, the summit, but put this on your calendar right now. This is going to be a incredible event. We're now hosting it at a new venue that has a much larger space. Last year we had to turn away a lot of people because we didn't have enough room. We don't want the fire marshal on our back, so we moved to a big space. So this is going to be in Sao Paulo. You're all invited to attend us for the Vamos LatAm Summit Sao Paulo edition. And so you can pre-register in the link that Carmen just dropped. And I know we've shared a lot of information here, but there's all the different ways you can get involved at Latitud. So, pull out your phone, at least take a look at the different channels that you can get involved. Subscribe to our newsletter, our podcast. We've been told that our newsletter is the most entertaining and funny, tech startup venture capital newsletter out there, in the space. So kudos to Reggie and our team who just come up with amazing, just entertaining. Every time I get in my inbox, I just get all excited and I can't wait to read.
I mean, if your name comes up in the newsletter, it's not personal, Carmen. It's just how we talk.
Exactly. Yes, Joey. It's not you, Jose. Okay. Listen, wrapping up here, and then we'll get to some of the questions. But I think that, recently in our company internal meeting, we often do an AMA, which, AMA, we love doing these AMAs, Ask Me Anything. And the founders, we try to provide a lot of clarity and transparency about the business and, what's important. And one of our, team members, Mariana, shout out to Mariana, she asked this question. She said, hey, team, what is our biggest pain point, for, that we're trying to solve at Latitud? And, kind of just quickly, the quick response that we came up with was, what really matters for us is, not what we think, people need. It's really the pain that founders communicate to us is the, solution and the focus area that we need to have. So the biggest pain points are the founders, what they tell us. And so that's really what matters to us. And that is why we're so founder-centric in trying to solve Latin American founders' biggest pain points so that they can focus on their business and build incredible value for society and solving those massive problems that, or challenges that exist in the region. And so we feel really lucky to be able to unblock those challenges for founders so they can concentrate on their business and build value for, for the region. That's it.
That's it. No more questions.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it. And by the way, we try to be very punctual here so we can save time for a few let's look at I know there's a lot of stuff in the chat. I haven't been able to read that.
There's questions in the Q&A that we can look
let's
at.
go to the Q&A. All right, let's see here. Do you want me to read the question, or are we going to invite somebody up, or how do we want to do that? Let's start with okay, Virginia's starting with the answer, so we can just pop in there. I mean, I think we can repeat that, but maybe we should start with the one unanswered, because those are responded already, right? Let's start with the open questions. So Gustavo asks, what's the most efficient channel you've encountered in order to mass distribute a financial product in Latin America?
Gina question.
Gina, what comes to mind? What have you seen?
Gustavo, just a second, because my dog is going crazy. You start.
All right.
Okay.
You know, I think first off, you know, we're actually in the process of building a financial product. So we will be more apt to answer this question after we launch this product, which we hope to, you know, will be in the coming months here. But I think, you know, Gina, you have any quick thoughts?
I can jump in. Look, what I'll say is, like, we candidly spend a lot of effort at Latitude getting as much information as possible in the hands of people who need that information by building incredible content and translating it to multiple languages, creating reports, the podcast. Like, everything we do is to bring value to founders in the most efficient way. And that becomes a really efficient channel to distribute products that those founders might need. So that, you know, that's something that we will be exploring, but that's how we reach people in Latin America. But then, you know, I as I had mentioned before, I was the head of growth at Duolingo from 3 to 200 million users, but that was a B2C product. We were growing super scale. And so in terms of financial products that are specific to startup founders in Latin America, those are completely different. And I would say we're exploring ways to find founders exactly when they need our help so that we can help them most efficiently. That's sort of the overarching way that we're thinking about that question.
Let's move on. Actually, I realized that if I'm correct, let's see. Okay, everyone can see the answered questions, right? Just if someone from our team can confirm that, and then we'll go to the unanswered questions. I just was unclear if everyone can see those questions. If that is correct, please give us a thumbs up, team. Let's go to the next question. Let's read this here. Okay, good. Thank you, team. So from Bernard, speaking of building in public, what might be the plan to publicize these excellent company formation structures for the benefit of the ecosystem as a whole and to facilitate collective iteration improvement, not unlike open source in the software world? At another level. I like that question. Yuri, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea, worth reflecting on. I think what Bernard is referring to is maybe even like publishing the templates and making them open for folks to suggest changes. I think that's a cool idea. We can reflect on that. It's sort of like building in public. You know, every time you go more transparent, there's some infrastructure, some things you want to put in place so that, you know, not anybody can just go and add a few lines to the template, but given the right infrastructure, it could be cool to kind of like crowdsource the knowledge.
I also like that because it also presents a lot of confidence in your ability to build a really great solution. You know, I think that the best founders worry less about competitors and they focus on just their customers, and because execution is everything in startup land. So you've got to be very confident, and you can't be worried about, you know, we're not building something hyper secretive. It's really just about, you know, solving massive problems, communicating out there. And if someone's copying you in what you're building, they're usually a couple steps behind you in what you're doing. And so it's actually a great sign when you see someone, you know, copying what you're doing. We've had a couple people reach out from like different parts of the world and ask, like, you know, saying I'm building a Latitude of, you know, Pakistan, and that's very flattering to us. Obviously, it's not a competitor because we're not going to be going to Pakistan anytime soon. But I think in general, you know, execution is everything. So you can be open about, you know, a little bit more about, you know, some of these things, so you can get your customer feedback openly. And that's your competitive edge is not, you know, it's not what you've done today. It's what you're planning on doing and your ability to execute. All right. Anyone want to read the next one? Ivan Montoya. I
That's
love
a good
it.
one.
Let's yeah,
Well, I think that's a question for you, actually, Brian.
it is. You know, we should have brought Ivan up here, who's a great supporter of Latitude, and he can come say hi. Ivan was part of our Angel Fellowship and a star fellow, and a great investor and friend of Latitude. So he's asking about more information on the community event in Mexico City in March. Again, in the spirit of building in public, we don't have all the answers to this. We just realized that we needed to focus on a smaller event. We do have a venue defined. We have a date. It's March 23rd. Given that you're part of the Latitude community, you're going to be invited to that. We are a little nervous about the demand for this, frankly, because there's a cap in terms of how many people can be there. So I'm kind of creating this in real time here, but what we'll probably do is send out an invitation to our community that comprises of founders, mentors, clients, portfolio companies, and we'll give a window of people to confirm. And then after that confirmation happens, we'll open it up to a few other people that are kind of ancillary parts of the community, and until we get to our total number. So Ivan, we'll make sure you have a slot. If you're care to make it down here, you're always welcome.
And there's another one, the next one from Dani Reyes, that I feel like is related. So maybe we'll just hit that one right away.
Yeah, that's a good one. So Dani, we are gonna give it a shot. Our plan as of right now is that we hope to announce the Vamos LatAm Summit this year in Mexico first, which will be right around when we're doing our smaller what we call launchpad event of a few hundred people. And we hope to launch that in March 2024. We need more time preparation, and just to be super open and transparent with everybody, these events cost a lot of money. The event in Brazil is going to be cost a pretty penny, so to speak. So that means that we need to sell sponsorship because we're a startup, and we don't just spend $1 million on an event and pray that we get a return on it. Our goal is to at least cover our costs so we don't go negative for these events. And so by having enough time to be able to sell sponsorships, so I guess that also means if you know someone that would want to sponsor, we had some great sponsors last time, Stripe, Google, AWS, and a bunch of other folks that have been supporters. We hope that we can have some of those sponsors and more. So if you're representing a larger company that wants to sell into startups in Latin America or in the VC space, reach out to us, and or if you know anyone, send us any referrals, and we can help fund the operations, which we want to go big and make it amazing for our founders, and we try to make it free for our community. That's our goal, but we need to be responsible and make sure we generate enough revenue to achieve that.
Yeah, and then Brian, a quick reminder for everybody, and Ivan and Dani as well. If you want to stay updated on anything Latitude, all the events, things that are going to be happening, please subscribe to our newsletter. So we always share information there. So that's the easiest way to kind of like have an overview of everything.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, and if you're not following along, come join us in the Q&A section, so you can kind of see some of the questions that we're addressing. There's a handful that we already addressed. But in case you didn't see it, I may address those publicly as well. Let's see here.
Adrian has a specific question about Latitud GO, but maybe that's a question that should be answered. Getting in touch with the Latitud GO team and asking, because I'm sure they'll be happy to answer. I don't know if you want to go into that level of detail.
Sure. Well, what was the question? Is that in the answered, or is it just in the chat?
In the open question.
Okay.
It seems like it's a question about a specific incorporation situation. Yeah, Adrian, I would say reaching out to folks like Feli and Pedro on our team. They'll help you out with your specific situation on the Latitud GO.
Awesome.
go@latitude.com, right, Yuri?
Got it. This is Adrian, right? Adrian
Yes.
Cordoba.
Yep.
Yeah, we're happy to provide. Even if you're not a fit for our Latitud GO products. One philosophy we have at Latitude is we try to just build value and, give first. And so even if you're not a potential customer, we try to go out of our way to provide resources to you as founders, because, it's the right thing to do. And it's amazing what happens when you go out and you try to help other people. It just helps, bring great people that want to support what you're doing. So reach out to our team. We're happy to, provide more resources for you.
Cool. Since we have 10 minutes and we still have, I don't know, maybe 15 questions, maybe we'll try to tackle them. Boom, boom, rapid fire.
Let's do it. You want to go?
Yes, let's do this. Carmen Cifuentes says, exciting for the in-person meeting in March. Can you share the location? We will not share the location because Carmen, it gets crazy out there. We were at Vamos LatAm Summit. It felt like it was like Coachella, and I wasn't told, and people were trying to get in. And I know, and we had an event in Mexico last year, and people were at the door getting upset. They were like, it felt like a whole club. So we're not going to share the location, but we will be sharing the location with our community. So yeah, you will know where to go on the day of. Alberto Perdomo says, build in public on idea stage or on market fit stage.
It's a great question. I think that, it takes a lot of, kind of audacity to build when you're at idea stage and build in public. I don't think that building in public is a recommendation for everybody. I don't think that, you should take this and be like, oh, I need to go build in public. I think that, we're willing to risk our reputation for not getting everything right. Because, I think we feel confident that we can figure things out and eventually things will work. We are at market fit stage in a handful of products that we build. Like our community is, we think that at that point we've really kind of done a good job of providing value, and that shines through with our 85 plus NPS of our community. But it's a risk to be building at idea stage because you're going to change so often. So I would say that it's a good point, and I think that you need some kind of semblance of traction in order to want to kind of externalize your lessons. But I think, I got a friend named Brian York who was part of Latitude. He's on TikTok sharing his journey. Is Brian York? I think it's called LatAm Hustle. Is his and he's literally every single day reflecting on every single meeting he has with investors as he tries to go out and raise a $10 million Series A, Series A round. And I'm following along. I'm really enjoying it. I'm learning from him. I can see people, hey, I'm in Australia. Thank you for sharing that. And so I think it really, you build, and he's had some investors that have reached out because he's, really vocal about it. So it's not for everybody. You've got to be comfortable with failing also. And you've got to be comfortable being, out there and exposed.
Awesome. I think maybe we can group two questions that are very related. Komal and Mateo are asking about the fund. Brian, so Komal asked, congrats on your 2022 seed round. Question, did you raise the money to invest in startups or run Latitude's business? Or is the fund different with other LPs? And then Mateo's question, which is related, is what's the scoop on the new Latitude fund being raised? And will there be another rolling fund?
This is Scoop City over here.
Mm-hmm.
Delicious ice cream scoops. Here we go. So the quick statement here is we raised the seed round, and that was an investment into our holding company, which is a Cayman holding company, just like the Latitud GO product where we automate that process. We wanted to automate it because we felt the pain of doing that. And aside from that, we raised about $14 million in a rolling fund on AngelList, and that fund went into, we've deployed into about 100 pre-seed and seed companies. So they're separate entities, and we're currently raising, this is not a solicitation of capital because I don't know if we're allowed to do that publicly, but we're raising a $25 million fund, through, to be TBD. We're doing that currently with our existing LPs, and we may open that up in the future, but this is not a public solicitation of capital.
Thank you for putting that on the record many times, Brian, just in case.
Just to make sure we all heard it.
Exactly. And if our lawyers are watching this, you're welcome. Okay, let's see what else we got.
Quick question. Have you seen any biotech startups? What have you seen in the biotech space in LatAm?
We actually, our fund, Tommy's, I don't know if is Tommy around? If he's around, let's bring him up. But he leads our fund with Marcial and Nayani. We're a small, nimble team, but we don't really do much in the biotech space. You know, it's more marketplaces, vertical SaaS, fintech, prop tech, you know, ed tech, health tech. But we haven't really dipped our toes into any biotech businesses. So
They exist.
What's that?
But they exist.
Yes, they do. And I have not a lot of info for you. So sorry, I wish I had something more.
From Rafael Amaral, what 3 pieces of advice can you give to first-time founders who are starting a startup in Brazil through bootstrapping?
Good question. You guys want to jump in there?
Run.
Yeah.
Yuri, any thoughts?
It's a good one. Yeah, I mean, just control your burn and prioritize revenue. I guess it's you know, this is going to be 2023 is going to be scarce on capital anyway. So a lot of companies are going to be probably doing similar things to bootstrapping. But yeah, when you're bootstrapping, to me, it's just sort of like having a clear understanding of return on investment every single thing you do, right? Because you're going to go slower. Don't get like sidetracked with like, oh, these companies hiring hundreds of people, and just like keep a close watch on your cash and the revenue.
I'll add to that. You know, I feel like I'm a bootstrap founder. You know, originally, like maybe OG bootstrap founder in LatAm, because I started Vivaral when there was actually no venture capital ecosystem. Really, there was like, you could count the funds on one hand. And so I have some experience bootstrapping. I think here's a really kind of maybe something that might be tangible for you. One thing that I did in the early days of Vivaral is I made a list of all of the key things that were really important for the business. And I rank them, you know, number 1, number 2, all the way through 8. It was like, you know, a bunch of buckets of areas of focus. And what we did then, and I think this is actually useful for not just bootstrap founders, but even venture-backed companies, because sometimes venture-backed companies get a little unfocused because they kind of try to boil the ocean. And so what we did was we, you know, identified these 8 things that were super important. And I said, in the short term, we need to do this. In the long term, we need to do this. And I actually took number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and I crossed them off. And we obsessively focused on those 1, 2 things that would move the needle for the business. And I think that was amazing forcing function to unlock value. Just as a spoiler, the 2 things were get listings. We had a property marketplace. So get properties on the website, because you need properties in order to attract, you know, visitors and you know, as part of our business model. And then drive traffic through SEO. And I was like, we had all these other things, customer service, PR, all these other things. And I was like, I don't even want to talk about anything else. We need to nail these things over the next 2 years, and then we'll be waking up and we'll have a ton of value. So I would just really optimize and prioritize ruthlessly, which with scarcity of capital usually forces you to do that.
I would add, try to come up with free growth channels and not spend money on paid if you don't have money coming in yet.
That's a good one.
Boom. From the queen of growth herself.
There's a good question from Javier that is on what is the most important lesson you've learned building Latitud GO, given that there are several very different and equally important stakeholders, i.e. lawyers and founders? I think to me, it's like considering all these partnerships. Yeah, like basically the first thing we've learned is building a product that has a lot of partners is really hard. And then treating each of those partnerships as almost like a module of your product, you know? So it needs to be monitored. You need to have an SLA, you need to have kind of like a heartbeat of how it's going. And then what's the plan B? Like how critical is that piece, right? Like if that goes down, does that stop the whole product? And you kind of like, what's the plan B? What's the action to be taken at that time? So yeah, just like not treating it like, oh, I talked to them, everything's gonna be great. But just like treating it as it's almost like a piece of software, a module that you have to like, it's running and beating hard inside of your product.
And with this beating heart of this event must come to an end. as
Meeting in the Californian summer of 2020.
as we end this all hands. And so thank you so much for caring about what we're building and for being a part of this. We really hope that you'll join us if you haven't yet in some capacity, whether it be in a passive way, following our newsletter, our podcast, reading our blog, our reports, our social media, or actually joining our community, or using Latitud GO. But of course, we're here. We love answering questions, and we're here to serve tech founders in Latin America. As Brian has said before, and Yuri has said many times as well, you are the people who will really change the lives of hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of people in our region. And even though I'm not supposed to say this, because I don't know, it's not like correct, I don't really believe in the government of our countries, any of our countries, it doesn't matter which one. I don't believe that they're really going to make the impact that we hope for them to make, but I do believe that tech startups can, because we can reach people at scale and we can solve real problems that need to be solved. And we know in Latin America that we're way behind where we should be on every single vertical. So we need more of you building fantastic solutions, and we're here to pave the way for you.
Vamos LatAm.
Vamos LatAm.
All
right. Ciao,
and
ciao.
thank you, team, for organizing this as always.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Flawless organization. Thank you. We just show up and get to talk about you. You do all the hard work. So thank you for your support. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.